Welcome, everybody. You've joined Perpetual Motion, the podcast designed to help my fellow intellectual tourists master communication, accelerate your career, and level up your love life, baby. I'm your host, Dr. Mo Anderson. Today, we're joined by my new friend, Linette Cottrell. She's a spiritual strategist. I don't know what that is, but she's going to tell us. Certified breathwork facilitator, systems expert, and author. Linette is renowned for her transformative approach to guiding individuals toward healing and empowerment. In this episode, we're talking radical self-love, the concept of stress success, and why grinding your way through life is not, I repeat, is not sustainable. Welcome, Linette.
Thank you, Dr. Moore. I'm so happy to be here. I thank you for the invitation.
You bet. Well, let's start with what I alluded to in the introduction. What is a spiritual strategist? That's a new term to me.
Spiritual strategist is really someone who helps to guide you to tap it into your spirituality because a lot of times we're dealing with most of our human capabilities, being a human being, those five senses in the mind. And we forget that we are really spirits having a human experience. So there's a bigger part of us beyond those five senses. So that's what a spiritual strategist does.
Okay, beautiful, beautiful. I can see why that's important for the work that you do and for all of us to be aware of. Let's start with your four pillars of radical self-love. I feel like that's the umbrella over everything else we're gonna discuss.
Yes.
You developed a framework around radical self-love. Could you walk us through these pillars and how they serve as a foundation for personal empowerment?
Definitely. I'd love to do that. Great question. So the four pillars of self-love really do set the foundation for what radical self-love is. So if someone has the questions like, what is radical self-love? What exactly are they talking about? So we start with self-acceptance. And that means accepting yourself with unconditional love. So, despite what anyone else thinks about you or how anyone else feels about you, you know yourself better than anyone, right? You know all the good, all the bad, you know the ugly, you know the beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
So, being able to love yourself unconditionally, knowing all those different parts of you, is the first pillar of radical self love acceptance. Then we have self care, which ties right into that grind culture, why we reject that because self care means that you're taking care of your body, your mind, and your spirit. So just as you feed your body, you need to feed your mind and your spirit. So you're not wearing your body out. You're not discounting your energy. You're not going till you can't go anymore. You're honoring when you need to rest, right? So that's self care. Then we have self worth, which is something that is innately yours. It's not something you have to earn. It's not something that fluctuates based on how you perform. Like if you have a good day, a bad day, if you win the game or lose the game, it doesn't matter. Your self-worth means that you are valuable and you're validated innately. And
Beautiful.
lastly, we have self-expression. And that's your ability to authentically be yourself. And that's a big challenge sometimes, especially for I work mainly with Black women entrepreneurs because of the things we deal with in society, being free to express ourselves without thinking judgmentally how someone else is going to look at it can be a real challenge. So
Right.
those are the four pillars.
Wow, those are deep. Those are deep. And I feel like as parents, I have grandchildren now, but I feel like as parents, it's important to understand this as well because we can help launch that process. And I say that because I had this moment as you were talking, and I was an only child for 13 years. I have a sister, but I kind of have an only child personality. Somewhere between big sister and older sister and only child is it's a lot. It's very alpha. But my mother affirmed me so much
Mhm.
as a child. And sometimes my dad would be like, you gotta make her head big. My mother as a Black female knew what I was going to encounter. And
Yeah.
she started instilling that in me early. And had I gone into the environment that I did, once I left their home without feeling some sense of self-worth and self-confidence, and it doesn't matter what you say to me, my mom's already convinced me
Right,
I'm
right,
a good
exactly.
person. It would have been a hard road to hoe, as we say in the South,
Yes,
because and we're talking about, you said you primarily, work with women of color. I mean,
yes,
there is a lot still that comes at us, and
yes.
you almost need that shield of self-confidence, right?
You do, you really do. Very good points. Yes, definitely.
So I thank you for those 4 pillars and putting them together in such a way, and we know that pillars support whatever
Exactly,
structure is going on. Without those
exactly.
pillars, it's gonna fall when the first one is
Everything's gonna
pain.
tumble down.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am. Let's talk about the grind culture. I can't hear this enough because I am just very self-driven. I got 4 or 5 jobs depending on how you look at what I do. I just feel like I'm just trying to pay bills and invest and leave something for my family,
right.
leave a financial legacy, but at the same time, I know for a fact it's impacted my health, it's impacted relationships. So you challenge the glorification of grind culture, the busy
Yes.
bees. How does this mindset hinder true success, and what alternatives do you propose for achieving fulfillment without burnout?
Great question. So the number one way it hinders true success is that well, two ways. One way is that it stifles your creativity. Because when your brain is tired, the grind culture says when you get tired, you just keep going and push through. Your brain says, I'm more creative when you're rested. When you rest, when you take your mind off something and come back to it, sometimes the answers would just flood in for you. But if you stick there and try to just brave your way through it for 4 or 5 hours instead of taking that break, your creativity is going to shut down. So you're going to end up being exhausted and burnt out and thinking, I can't do this. I can't find a solution. When the solution is go take a rest and come back anew. Go do something different, right? Then come back refreshed. The second way is the grind culture limits your ability to think about efficiencies because it's all about getting it done. So you can start doing something, you're doing it the most difficult way, but you say to yourself, well, if I just keep doing this in 2 hours, I have it done. But if you were to stop and think, okay, what's the better way to do this? And sometimes we are resistant to the word easy. What's the easier way to do this? How can I do this so that it takes me half the time? Right. But instead of taking that, using our intellect in that way, we would just keep going at it, keep driving through it and thinking that's the solution. The solution is not to stop and think of how can I do this more easily, more efficiently. If it's something that's recurring, especially if I'm going to have to do this again next week, it's very much more beneficial and profitable for me to figure out how to do it efficiently
Right.
than it is
Automate.
to say it's going to take 2 hours every time I do it, right? But the grind culture doesn't allow you that freedom to sit back and think and figure that part out because it feels like laziness. It
Mm,
feels like you're looking for the easy way out.
okay.
So it's more than just a culture of busyness, of non ending drive, it's also a mental culture, right? It affects your mentality, how you look at things, how you address things, how you come to your business. So you can start your business with a love for what you're doing, but you can do it such the wrong way that you end up burnt out and you end up not loving it so much. You're like, why
Right.
did I even start doing this, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
just
lose
too
the
much.
passion. Mhm.
Right, you lose that passion. Some basic ways that we could find solution to the grind culture and kind of, I would say, taper ourselves away from it is one to just simply begin reconnecting with your body. Because one thing it does is it forces us to disconnect from our body. So those regular bodily messages that we get that say you need to rest, your mind is tired, go take a nap and you shut it down. No, I'm going to finish this. And 3 hours later is when you stop, or no, I'm going to stop after I do this. And then it's after midnight. You are telling your body, I'm not listening to you. I don't hear these messages. They're not valuable to me. So then you physically shut down or get an illness or you get sick or you're laid out where you can't get up and do anything because your body says, okay, you won't listen, because your body is about self-survival. If you're not going to listen when I whisper to you, I need a nap, then I'm going to shut everything down and you won't be able to get up for a week. How about that? Right?
Yeah. I'm
So
a
you need
witness.
to,
Been there.
yes, you have to re-engage and start listening to your body. Okay, what is my body telling me?
Right. Right.
And that calls for you to allow yourself some quiet moments. So it can't be a constantly go, go, go from one thing to the next. You have to implement in your day some quiet moments to just sit still.
Right. Good, good. I'm going to go back to something you said earlier that I feel relates to this, and that is the self-care part. So that
Yeah,
you have the quiet moments, you're eating properly, you're resting, and nutrition, all the things that we kick to the curb in this relentless grind. But I feel like people are getting self-care kind of distorted. It's turned into I'm getting my nails done, I'm getting my lashes done, my brows,
right.
as opposed to things internally or things that are actually relaxing, not just I'm buying something for myself. How would you define self-care? Maybe I misunderstand what it means. To
No,
me,
you're
that's a
right. So,
form of it, but that can't be the only
yeah.
thing, right?
Yes. So a part of self care is the pampering.
Mhm.
It is the relaxing part. It is the tending to the nails and getting the hair done and that cosmetic type of things. Getting a massage. That's self care. But self care is not just bodily care. It's not just going out to eat. It's not just taking a spa day. It's also mental and spiritual care, right? So, what are you doing for the self care of your mind? What are you feeding your mind? What are you reading? What are you listening to? How are you relaxing your mind? Usually, when we go to those places, we're still busy thinking or talking to someone, right?
Right.
What about your spirit? How are you feeding your spirit? How do you relax and sit in your spirit? So when it comes to radical self-love, the self-care part of it is a lot deeper than the pampering side, right? That's the very light, top level, top soil part of self-care, but it goes a lot deeper. It goes to you dedicating moments to quiet your mind. It goes to you setting a routine for the beginning of your day. Like, how do you step out into the world? Do you just get up in a rush, get dressed, or you got 12 things on your mind, you're checking your phone? Or do you wake up, meditate, breathe, your regular morning routines, washing your face, getting dressed? Do you do it intently? Are you careful with yourself and you're intently paying attention to what you're doing? Or is your mind on the meeting I have to have today, the people I got to call, and you're just going through the motions and you don't even remember taking care of yourself that morning because
Okay,
you weren't tapped into it?
I get up at 5:30 in the morning. My mind is on coffee. There's no intention. My only intention is to get the top part of me
Uh-huh.
camera ready and get some coffee. So that's not gonna be the time for me to do that. Cause I'm not a morning person.
But whatever you do in the morning, you can do it more intentionally. So if
Okay.
you ever you can intentionally fix yourself a cup of coffee and sip that coffee, right?
Okay. Okay. Be present with the coffee.
Yes, be present instead of rushing through it and instead of drinking the coffee and doing something else, be
Okay.
present and just drink the coffee. Give yourself 5 minutes with the coffee. It doesn't have to, we're not talking about hours of time.
Okay.
5 minutes of deep breathing, 5 minutes of intentfully just enjoying your cup of coffee. That's self care.
Does it count if I just stare at the wall and try to figure out why all my friends are retired and I'm not?
No, it doesn't, Dr. Because then you are worrying. You need to have peace in your mind.
Okay.
You have to drink that coffee. It counts if you're drinking that coffee and you just think how good this coffee is. It
Okay.
have the perfect amount of cream if you use creamer. It's the perfect amount of sweetness. The heat is just perfect. I can feel it
Mhm.
going in my body.
Aroma. Okay.
Yeah, it smells good. Just every sip, that helps.
Okay. Okay. I'm gonna
Yes,
have to work on that.
yes, yes. Because you have to think about how you step out into the world,
Mhm.
right? Do you step out into the world with already a load on you, or do you step out where you've cleared and you've allowed some energy and you've allowed for your creativity, your problem solving abilities to be at the highest, right?
Right. Right. Okay, that's
Yes,
good.
Dr. Moso. Be mindful when you drink that coffee. You can
All
stare at
right.
the wall, but don't have worry in your mind.
No, I'm just in that coma.
Yeah.
Why am I awake? Why is it dark? Okay. Okay. I can definitely. I'm gonna start there. They had that podcast start here. I'm gonna start there.
Yes.
So I like that. Thank you for sharing that and for helping me, because this really is my master class in personal growth. I just hope other people enjoy it, but it's really about me. So I love what you're sharing here, and it's not. Sometimes people come out and they give us these strategies and techniques and words, and it's just a lot. It's complicated, and it's hard to even know where to start. But this is practical. This is good.
Right. And that's a good point. I love that you say that because it has to be practical. It has to be able to be something you can ease into and something you can do consistently. So it can't be something that if you are already a busy person, if it takes a lot of time, you're never going to dedicate yourself to it. So it
Exactly.
has to be a 1 minute, a 5 minute something that you can do consistently and then build.
Okay. You mentioned entrepreneurs. We both did, and in regards to this topic, what are, and I know a lot of my listeners are entrepreneurs, but what are the top 2 or 3 things entrepreneurs should focus on when going from a side hustle to a full business? Because we do have to work.
Yes, yes. So the top thing to work on would be being able to set goals and set a schedule.
Mm.
So I wrote this 90-day success journal, which basically is a quarterly goal journal for entrepreneurs. And what it does is it assists you in breaking down your goals per quarter and kind of reverse engineering it to a monthly, to weekly, and then daily. And I found, when I talk to entrepreneurs, the biggest challenge is being able to set a daily schedule and set a weekly schedule and stick to it. Not just set it, but stick to it. So many times because especially going from a job to converting your side hustle to a full-time business, you're wearing so many hats. So there's so many different areas in your business you have to tend to: the marketing. You have to tend to the budgeting, the accounting, the money and the numbers. You have to tend to just the everyday processes in the core business that you're doing. So there's a lot for one person to deal with, all those different functions that most businesses have someone specialized. They have whole departments
Right.
specialize in those areas. So what we tend to do is we tend to do the things that we like, we enjoy the most. And those often are not really the things that are going to get the clients in and grow the money, right? So we don't like the marketing. We don't do that. We do the other stuff that we like. So the first thing is to be able to set your goals and set a schedule and stick to your schedule. That would be the first thing I would say. The second thing would be to tend to your money. So learn how to budget and confront that business budget. Because a lot of entrepreneurs, since they don't like accounting, they would rather not look at the numbers. They just want to enjoy the process of their business. They avoid that until it becomes an issue. Then someone else has to come in and help them figure out how to clean it up. And
And we
I've done
hope.
that in my career. I've done that. I also have a course that I created to help entrepreneurs learn the basics of getting friendly with the budgeting process and just making it ultra simple.
Right. Right.
Ultra simple.
I it started out with QuickBooks Desktop when that was the version that they had, and you had to buy a new one every few years.
Yes.
Didn't like doing it, got behind, and realized, you know what, I need to be diligent about this, but also you got to bring in professionals like yourself,
Yes.
bookkeepers, accounting people. That is an investment that is so worth it.
Yes.
Because even if you're pushing yourself to do it, there were so many things I didn't know, depreciation and, the things
Right.
about the inventory and other stuff, so you might be harming yourself, missing out on opportunities because you don't know what you don't know.
Exactly.
So, yeah,
Exactly.
it is a big transition, but it's so worthwhile when it goes right and you have the right team together with
Exactly.
who share your mindset and your vision.
Makes a big difference. Yes.
And you said people would bring you in, so you have a background in bookkeeping also? Did I miss
In
that?
accounting, I had my career was in accounting. What I would do, I would work with entrepreneur companies. I would go in usually when the department was empty. Whoever was there before either was fired or left. So I would come in as a researcher would be my first job to figure out how things had been done, where everything was, and then
Unraveling this mess?
exactly. It was always a hot mess. So cleaning up the hot mess, putting things in order, setting up procedures, policies, writing handbooks for the department, hiring and training staff, and managing those staff. That was my total work history. So I managed accounting departments for entrepreneur companies. And from there, I went to consulting where I worked with multiple companies. And I created a course because it was just frightening to see how many
You said
entrepreneurs,
frightening. You
it
said
was
frightening.
frightening. It was unbelievable to see how many entrepreneurs had been in business for years, even making millions, and had a accounting system that was basically non-existent, right? It was like whatever they felt like doing, right? So it was very scary. That's why
And
I
that
created the course because I realized people avoid it as much as they can,
'cause we don't like it.
even though they're in business.
We don't we don't like it. But what
No.
what brought me around was having somebody, embezzling, because when it's all helter-skelter like that, your checks and balances,
Yes,
there's nothing there, so it's easy for someone.
very easy.
My ex and I owned a GNC franchise. Yeah, they even though systems come with franchising, you still the message here today, folks, is you have to pay attention. You have to do the work because
Yes,
people know how
you
to
have
work
to know,
around it.
your numbers and find an bookkeeper, an accounting person that can explain it to you in layman terms. It doesn't have to be over your head. I'm always able to break things down where anyone can understand it. It's not rocket science,
Mhm,
right?
right.
And you can make it people friendly. You can. So find someone who is skilled at making it people friendly, who makes you feel comfortable when they talk about your numbers and your information with you. They're not judgmental. They give you solutions with small steps that you can handle. They don't try to overwhelm you with, oh, you got to get all this together in the next couple of days, right?
Right.
They're realistic with you and they're able to explain to you what they're doing and why. There should always be a benefit to what they're doing.
I know you're good at that. You're good at that. So, with that background, I mean, numbers are concrete, black and white. It is what it is. And you went from that to spirituality and entrepreneurship. That's fascinating to me. And you say entrepreneurship is a spiritual journey. So how
Definitely is.
integrating spirituality in the business practices redefine success?
Yes, because entrepreneur is a spiritual journey because what you are doing when you step into the bravement of entrepreneurship is you're saying, I am going to create something great. And to create this great thing, I am going to bring out the greatness within me. So in your effort to do that, that greatness is going to bump against everything inside you that you pushed down and didn't deal with, right? You thought you got away from, you thought you didn't need to deal with it. You pushed it down, which is one of the reasons why you stay real busy all the time because you don't want the quietness. It's going to come up in the quietness, you think. So as you're trying to build your business and bring out this greatness, it's going to bump into stuff. So a lot of times when we find ourselves feeling stuck, like I just can't get above this profit level, I just can't figure out what I need to do next. We go from buying courses and going to workshops and, oh, this is the solution. Oh, I just need to know how to do it that way. When really it is, we need to go inside and figure out what is that limiting belief? What is that within you that's stopping you from really being great, from stopping your greatness from coming out?
And so often we wanna make that be this external force. The man,
Yes,
the woman, the whomever pass me over, won't let me hold me back instead of dealing
right.
with what, like you said, the limiting belief. What inside of me, what happened, what did someone say to me, what am I doing that's hindering my growth and my forward progression?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Wow. This is kind of deep. Good stuff. I'm taking notes even. That's why I keep reading. I need to write this down. I'm old school. I got my little pad, girl.
Okay.
I have to
I
go
do the same
catalog.
thing. I do the same thing. I have a pad on the side.
I love it because I'm typing all day, and I just like my little tablet, my little pad.
Yes. Yes.
Before we go, I've got a final question for you. Wish we had more time because you've just been awesome, and you are making it, giving us bites that we can digest, that we can handle,
Yes.
and that we can digest. Thank you for
Good.
that. Practical steps to reclaim joy. For listeners feeling overwhelmed by societal pressures and personal challenges, what practical steps can they take today to move forward from that place?
One thing I would say that will be very simple is to create a playlist of songs that make you feel good, right?
Right.
So songs that are not about stress, that are not about anything negative, but songs that make you feel good. And find one. Find one that's a love song that you can sing to yourself. So think about that. Find a song where the words are so loving that you can turn them toward yourself. Instead of singing it about someone in your head, or your mate or your partner, sing it to yourself and sit in that for a week. Spend a week singing that song to yourself, playing that song to yourself. And then look at 7 days later, look at how it made you feel. So that's a very simple thing to do. That's one thing. Another thing would be to, I would suggest to write yourself a love letter. So when we think about the pillars of radical self love, self acceptance, unconditional love, self worth, pick one of those pillows and write a love letter to yourself. Doesn't have to be a 10-page letter. It could be 1 or 2 paragraphs. Just write it to yourself. That process of really sitting down and pointing your attention to you and saying positive things to you make a big difference.
Nice. Very nice. And I've already picked my song, and this
Good.
is what I'm going to do next week instead of staring at the wall. I am going to go in the mirror and sing Mary J. Blige's Good Morning Gorgeous to
All right,
myself.
I love that. Yes, that's a great one.
Isn't
Yes.
that an empowering, uplifting, one of my favorites? And I love her, but yeah, okay, I got the
Yes,
good
yes,
morning
and you can sing it in
routine.
the morning, and then you can play it throughout the day. You can play it before you go to bed. Even though it says good morning, it'll be the feeling that it gives you that
Yes,
makes the difference. So,
beautiful.
great. All right.
Spiritual. Before we go, tell listeners how to find you online and learn more about your services, order to download your book. Tell them where Linette Cottrell hangs out on the internet.
Sure. So they can find me online through my website, which is after my Women of Color in Business podcast. So it's WOCIB.org. On there, they can download a free assessment for radical self love. If they want to see where are they in regards to radical self love, they can get that free assessment. YouTube, they can follow me on YouTube and subscribe to my channel. It's at WOCIB podcast on YouTube and also on Instagram, WOCIB_SL. So those are the places they can connect with me and find out more about my courses and everything that I do and have to.
Awesome, awesome. And we'll certainly have all of that in the show notes. And folks, I have listened to her podcast. It is excellent. Do check it out, like, subscribe, and share. And do the same thing for Perpetual Motion with Dr. Mo Anderson to help us reach more listeners with this empowerment and strategies to level up your life at home and at the office. Until next time, be well and be brave.